Peace and greetings. Presenting the Network of Awareness podcast radio station, providing in-depth information on society and culture in America and abroad, bringing you truth messages of inspiration, keen insight, reputable interviews, and so much more. So now, for the truth you've been waiting for, your host of the Network of Awareness podcast, ORRA, the informationalist.
Nothing like this. Stage, screen, radio, TV,
Please just tell me what's happening to me in plain English without the mumbo jumbo.
You are now tuned in to the Network of Awareness.
All right, peace and greetings, folks. This is ORRA the Informationalist, and I'm coming to you on this wonderful Monday afternoon or early evening for some of y'all. This is a pre-recorded show, and I want to welcome you to Most High Mondays on the Network of Awareness. And I'm using my new cover logo for my podcast. Sometimes you're going to see me use the TV logo, which is also to my splash video to my Roku channel. Now, my Roku channel is coming out. I'm putting a lot of content and taking my time and putting it together. Eventually, I'll go on to Apple TV, iOS, and Android, and of course, Fire Stick. But I will start out with Roku. And for those that want to subscribe, I'm going to be doing certain promotions for that, but it will be $6.99 a month. And it's going to be action-packed with exclusive episodes and interviews that I do on my show for the TV, as well as music videos and other content as far as short films, Emotions in Motion, which will be kinetic poetry, as well as other things that I'll be coming up with cartoons and stuff. I'm doing a lot of this by myself, but eventually I'm going to recruit other people to join the team. Now, we do have other podcasters. We have the Golden Apple podcast. We also have, and that's with Billy Izzy. We have 101 with Oxakai. And we might have another podcaster joining. It's not solidified yet, but we'll see what happens. And it's going to be it's another great show added on to the family. Passion Pursues Purpose. I'm putting it on the back burner. But if you want to download the shows, I believe there's 7 to 8 episodes on that particular show, on that podcast. I will be getting back to it. The main focal point right now is for the Network of Awareness. So, with that being said, folks, I want to welcome you to today's show. And the beautiful thing here is that we have a situation where I live out here in Florida, in the Tampa Bay area. And I'm noticing a lot of Halloween like just, I don't know what you want to call it, but Halloween decorations in the houses and stuff like that. And it's just so interesting because it's not, I mean, it's getting close to Halloween to some degree, I guess, but they take Halloween so serious out here. And that's why I decided to name this episode 81, which is Nothing to Be Happy About Halloween. There's nothing to be happy about, right? Nothing happy about Halloween. It is a very demonic holiday. It is a holiday that is strictly to serve evil, wickedness, and every other vile thing that you could think of. But people think that it's fun because they get to dress up in costumes. But in reality, if you think about it, ever since the beginning of 2020, we've all been wearing costumes from time to time on our faces, right? You know what I'm talking about. And By the way, I hope some of you are going to be enjoying those blast from the past episodes. The one that I'm putting out on social media, on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter is the Shit Show, which was a show that I did in season 2. It was episode 122. And I'm grateful to say, people, without your love and support and just your overall enthusiasm and interest in my content and shows, I wouldn't be where I'm at. I'm reaching 400 shows and we're about to go to season 5. So I just want to say thank you again. I'm super grateful. I'm grateful to see these numbers of downloads that are steadily increasing. And I say all praises to the Most High, because I know that the Most High is in control of everything, and that the energy we put out and the way these things are set up is how we are rewarded. So don't ever let somebody tell you that you can't do something or make you think that it sucks, because when they're telling you that what you're doing sucks, it's because it's really that good. And they're just hating because they can't do it like you. And I've experienced that a lot lately by certain people that try to, demonize my platform, but they only made me stronger and better. And those that know real will recognize real. You can't fake real. Either you are or you're not. You see in my eyes? Still got light in my eyes, people. There's a reason for that. And I'm not saying that to be egotistical, to say that I'm better than anybody, because I'm really not. I like to think that I'm a spiritual being just like anybody else having a physical experience. So we're all in this together. But the reason I say I still got light in my eyes is because I'm really about developing and building the fruits of the Spirit with the gifts that the Most High has given me. Now, back to the topic at hand. This thing with Halloween out here, and I don't know if some of you experience in your state. If you do, shoot a review, let me know after this, listen to this episode. But people are so into Halloween, man. I mean, it's a little insane. And maybe it's because I'm not. And I haven't been for quite a long time, to be honest with you. I haven't been a Halloween goer for very long. But I would say up until about 15, 14, maybe even sooner than that, 13, 12. It's the last time I really kind of, embraced the holiday. After that, it was just more of like, oh, it's Halloween, let's go to a party. But I ain't dressing up. I'm just going to a party to chill out. I think one time I put face paint when I was 18 years old. And that was the last time. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to read some of the origins, because it's a very demonic holiday, people. I can't stress that enough. And I just want to look something up here in regards to the origins of Halloween, because it goes back into several centuries, and it's really the devil's kind of like celebration day. It's the day of celebration of wickedness, death, Satan. That movie with Brandon Lee showed you a lot about Devil's Night, which is Halloween. The Crow. If you haven't seen that movie, The Crow, that's where they actually killed Brandon Lee, which is supposedly an accident, allegedly. But the origins of Halloween, so many things that, you can read about. But I'm just going to pull up a couple of things here just so that we can get a better understanding of this, because I'm not looking forward to this holiday. And the reason I'm doing this episode is because I'm warning you, brothers and sisters, the ones that are doing positive things and are living an upright lifestyle, be very careful with who you share your energy with up to this holiday, especially on this day. And I definitely suggest to never live in fear, but I would suggest to not go out. I don't go out on Halloween because I already know, just like my Uncle Ralphie always says, who goes to sleep very early every day. What does he say? Nothing ever good happens after 10 p.m. And we used to joke about it when we was young, even into our older years, you know. But as I'm about to hit 45 years old, my uncle couldn't be closer to the truth than what he said. I mean, it's really real. There's a lot of things that are not good that happen after 10 p.m. So Halloween is a holiday celebrated each year on October 31st. And it will occur again on this Monday, October 31st of the year 2022. Now, the tradition originated with the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. Okay, now let's look up Samhain because there's so many origins. Now, Samhain is what you see with the Vikings and these practices where they do these blood rituals, and it's very similar to Wicca, which is a witchcraft. Now, it says here that Samhain is a pagan religious festival originating from ancient Celtic or Celtic spiritual tradition. In modern times, Samhain, a Gaelic word pronounced Samhain, Samhain, is usually celebrated from October 31st to November, 1st, to welcome in the harvest and usher in the dark half of the year. Okay, so this is welcoming, I guess, to a certain degree, winter, right? But it says the celebrants believe that the barriers between the physical world and the spirit world will break down during Samhain, allowing more interaction between humans and denizens of other worlds. Woo! The code word demons, jinns, the fallen ones. So this is when, just keep in mind that when you're practicing these pagan holidays are meant to bring in other energies, which portals are being purposefully opened by these dark energies. So when you have people celebrating in a tradition that can stir up that energy field, then it's just going to make it more intensified for those portals and dimensional holes and wormholes to keep opening to allow these entities in. So that's why I say it's not good to celebrate, let alone be outside when these paganistic traditions and activities are being conducted. Now, it also says that all the Celtic Festival Samhain, when people would light bonfires and wear costumes to ward off ghosts. In the 8th century, Pope Gregory III designated November 1st as a time to honor All Saints. Soon, All Saints Day incorporated some of the traditions of Samhain. Now, the evening before, known as All Hallows Eve, and later Halloween, over time, Halloween evolved into a day of activities like trick or treating, carving jack-o'-lanterns, festive gatherings, donning costumes, and eating treats. Woo! And let's also keep this in mind that a lot of witches perform rituals and spells during this time. Keep that in mind because it's very important. It's not something to take lightly. There's a woman that has a sign that says she's a witch on her gate, and she has these like little dogs. There's about 7 or 6 of them, and they're mean little nasty son of a beast. But they, my dog is big. My dog is a king boxer mixed with pit bull, and he's built like no other, solid like a rock. And he always wants to go over there, which is interesting because he's peaceful. But with those little dogs, he always wants to kind of flex on them. And of course, I have to pull him away. But she has a sign saying she's a witch. And lo and behold, as soon as October 1st hit, her house is fully decorated with all the webbing, the witch costumes, the goose, the goblins, you name it, she's got it on her front yard, like many other people. So let's take a dive into the ancient origins of Halloween or Hallows Eve. Halloween's origins date back to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. The Celts who lived 2,000 years ago, mostly in the area that is now known as Ireland, the United Kingdom. Shout outs to all my people in Ireland, United Kingdom, and in northern France. Got a lot of listeners out there. Thank you for all your love and support. Celebrated their new year on November 1st. Okay. So this is 2,000 years ago. This day marked the end of summer and the harvest and the beginning of the dark, cold winter. At a time of the year that was often associated with human death. Hey, human death. What's so happy to be about human death? Well, the Celts believed that on the night before the new year, the boundary between the worlds of the living and the dead became blurred. On the night of October 31st, the celebrated Samhain, when it was believed that the ghost of the dead returned to earth. People be very careful this Halloween because things are intensifying. In addition to causing trouble and damaging crops, Celts thought that the presence of the otherworldly spirits made it easier for the Druids or Celt priests to make predictions about the future. For a people entirely dependent on the volatile natural world, these prophecies were an important source of comfort during the long, dark winter. Now, to commemorate the event, Druids built huge sacred bonfires where the people gathered to burn crops and animals as sacrifices to the Celt deities. During the celebration, the Celts wore costumes typically consisting of animal heads and skins and attempted to tell each other fortunes. Doesn't it sound like psychics when you hear that, right? And you think about the whole psychic tarot card reading industry that is booming right now? Because people want answers outside of themselves instead of looking from within. And when you start to open up those types of portals and dimensions, you're allowing things to come into your life. So be very careful with that white witchcraft magic. I would say don't practice it at all because you're going to welcome things into your life that you're not ready for and that you're not ready to handle spiritually. Now, it says to commemorate the event, Druids built huge sacred bonfires where the people gathered to burn crops and animals, sacrificing to the Celtic deities. During the celebration, the Celts wore costumes, typically consisting of animal heads and skins, and attempted to tell each other fortunes. When the celebration was over, they relit their hearth fires, which they had extinguished earlier that evening, from the sacred bonfire to help protect them during the coming winter. Now, it says, did you know 1/4 of all the candy sold annually in the U.S. is purchased for Halloween? So the candy industry, you're going to start seeing, if you haven't already, this is where the candy industry heavily promotes and markets their brand. Heavy. You see it all over television, internet, everywhere. Be aware of that. Because that is the science. That is the method, the way they socially engineer us and condition us to believe that this is our way of life. When all we are doing, when we are in practice of this, we are practicing demonic rituals without even being consciously aware of it. But in the subconscious, it's receiving everything. So by 43 AD, the Roman Empire had conquered the majority of Celtic territory. In the course of the 400 years that they ruled the Celtic lands, 2 festivals of Roman origin were combined with traditional Celtic celebration of Samhain. Now, the first was Veralia, a day in late October when the Romans traditionally commemorated the passing of the dead. The second was the cry, or should I say the day, sorry about that, folks, the day of honor, Pomona, the Roman goddess of fruit and trees. The symbol of Pomona is the apple. And the incorporation of this celebration into Samhain probably explains the tradition of bobbing for apples is practiced today on Halloween. And listen, people, I think I did that one time. And the beauty of it is that my friend's sister that was hosting a party for her younger sister that I went to. And I had fun at that party. I was like 6 or 7 years old. Yeah, I was about 7 or 8, around that age. She cleaned out the water. So when you was bobbing for apples, she cleaned the water out, which is pretty cool. Because I would not stick my face when there's a bunch of nasty spit inside that, bobbing for apples bucket. It's nasty, people. And especially with all the, with all the caca 19 going around, I would definitely not suggest when people are highly contagious, if you know what I mean, to be doing that anyway. All right? Especially for you young folks out there. I know you want to have fun, but it ain't worth it. Now, this is I have a picture here. Let me see if I can share the image. And I just want to show you. So for those people that actually get to see this visually, I'm going to share it because I'm doing my podcast visually now. So those of you who are going to hear it audibly, I will have it on my website, on my YouTube channel, and you can see the whole series. I will be sharing segments of it on my social media handle feeds, like Twitter, like TikTok and Instagram. Now on TikTok and Instagram, I can actually post up to 10 minutes. And I believe, I could post up to, 10 minutes, 3 minutes on TikTok. And I can post up to 10 minutes on Instagram. So I'll do little clips from this episode as promotion to download and listen to the entire show. So if you want to get the visuals of this, these are going to be on a YouTube page that's directly connected to my website because that's the only way I can feature it as a full film. My web developers haven't got it to where I can have my own feed of video, but we're working on that and it'll come sooner than later. All right. So let me share this so that for those that are going to watch this, you can actually see it for yourself. And, boy, is it interesting, folks. Okay. So as you can see, it says Halloween costumes that disguise, spooked, and thrilled throughout the ages. These are all witches. Now, a lot of witches are in these Masonic orders as well. And as you can see here, this picture was probably taken a long, long time ago. And let's see what we have here. So look at this. In the 1920s, the goal of early costumes wasn't necessary to dress up as a particular creature or character, but rather to conceal one's identity in a spooky way that evoked themes like ghosts, witches, black cats, or the moon. And this is what they do at the parties, right? The elites, they all dress up in costumes and have these big orgies like in Eyes Wide Shut. As you can see here, it says, since teenage pranksters were known to wreak havoc on Halloween night, starting around the Great Depression, adults started organizing neighborhood activities like trick-or-treating, haunted houses, and costume parties to keep young people from making trouble. But did it intensify the trouble or did it prevent it? I think it made it even worse. And as you can see with these traditions, these are developing certain ritualistic behavior amongst this whole entire tradition that's really between those that are alive and those that are dead, and those that are interdimensional, wicked beings that are considered ghosts or demons or some type of malevolent force. It says 3 girls posed in their mask costumes as they prepare for Halloween festivities in the College Hill neighborhood of Cincinnati, Ohio. And this is in 1929. And as you can see here, look at these masks. These are masks to this day that people wear that are spooky as hell, man. This one looks like a lion/cat face. And this is like a wretched witch. Here, more kids. And see, they target the children. And this is why children are getting attacked by these demons. It's because they're practicing in these behaviors and it's opening up doors in the spirit realm. It says the 1930s, box costumes were considered expensive luxuries during the Great Depression era. And that means that basically only the wealthy families at this time were able to do this. And of course, I'm pretty sure poor families were being very, using a lot of ingenuity to create costumes. I know we did when we was growing up. So most families contributed to making their own Halloween outfits using costume patterns. Children in costumes gathered at a Halloween party in Madison, Wisconsin in 1931. Now here, look at this spooky. Look at, he's in a barn. There's probably a lot of bodies up in here. It says a person wears his homemade mummy costume in this undated 1930s Halloween photograph. All right. And then the next picture we have here. Okay. Looks like a commercial. It says this is also from the 1930s. As parents encouraged community activities for children on Halloween, costumes expanded to include characters that children might have seen and enjoyed, as in the undated 1930 photos of a girl holding Mickey Mouse mask. Look at that. Disney was capitalizing early. And think about it. People were dressing up now as Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, and any other, superhero you could possibly think of, Wolverine, Magneto. You name it, people are wearing it. Now, in this next photograph, if you brothers can see and sisters, you're going to see in the 1940s, this 5th and 6th grader prepares for Halloween by creating what's called here a papier-mâché mask in 1947. So paper mache. I said papier, sorry. It's just spelled differently, so papier. Paper mache masks were created in this one in 1947. We also have these. Now, these are the more traditional masks that started to be created all the way into the 80s and 90s. But this actually started in the 1950s. In the 1950s, there was a mass production of box costumes became more affordable. So kids began to use them to dress up. And they're still being used to this day, right? When you go to those stores, you can buy masks just like this. The one with the little rubber band in the back and you put it on top of your face and it comes with like some really rinky-dink costume to wear and, a trick-or-treat bag. It says here the children posed as they trick-or-treat with their costumes and masks in 1955. Now, in the 1950s, it says costumes in the 1950s also started to take inspiration from current events, such as the launch of Sputnik in 1957. And here we have a woman dressed up as a little spaceship with antennas or a satellite. In 1957, as shown in this photo, a couple dressed as Sputnik and the Soviet officer, on October 31st in 1957 in Los Angeles, California. That doesn't surprise me at all. Los Angeles got a lot of negative energy. And I know my people out there that live in Los Angeles that listen to the show, they know exactly what I'm talking about because you're right near Hollywood. Or should I say highly weird. So there's a lot of weird things that happen in Los Angeles. In the 1960s, there's a picture here of two little boys dressed up as Mickey Mouse and as Felix the Cat, I believe. And it says, as store bought costumes became more affordable, parents could suit up their children for the holiday at the last minute. And that's still a practice and a tradition every day. You'll have parents buying their kids costumes literally the day before, or usually when they have to go to their costume party at school, because the schools love to celebrate some Halloween, don't they? All right. So here's another one. 1960s, Halloween masks became more elaborate in the 60s, as shown by this store display from the decade. Now, more elaborate means more detailed, and a lot of these detailed masks is what people are wearing to do all types of things. People don't just wear these masks for Halloween. They wear these types of masks for other types of events, especially when it comes to like sex orgies. In the 1960s, sometimes a good mask makes up most of the costume, as on the boy in this photograph in 1968, he tries to scare a young girl, and his mask is a very demonic looking mask. It looks like King Kong got possessed by a demon. Oh, look at this one-eyed star kid from Kiss. So in the 1970s, other times, good makeup is the key to costume element. Here is 11-year-old Kiss fan pulls his Paul Stanley makeup on Halloween. He messed up his star a little bit, but you know, all it is the black star on the eye, the right eye, with the white makeup. So that's another thing. Certain personalities of, you know, music or TV, people started dressing up as those people. Now, in the 1970s, movies became very popular, right? So the inspirations, here's Star Wars characters C-3PO and Darth Vader celebrate at Harvard Square in Cambridge, Massachusetts in 1977. Look at these costumes, boy. And of course, they improved them with time, but you still have people dressing up as Star Wars characters every single year. I saw a lot of women dressed up as Layla, you know, showing a lot of skin too, when she was dressed up in that outfit where she was chained up by Jabba the Hutt. And that's just women, you know, having a open day slut card to get real skanky. In the 1970s, saw some more changes to Halloween costumes. So here is a costume where it says, in this period where Americans began to wearing presidential masks, particularly the most famous one of all was Richard Nixon. And here shown in 1978, or should I say, 78, the year I was born in. If you remember that movie with Keanu Reeves and I can't remember his name right now, Patrick Swayze. I can't remember the name of the movie, people. But in that movie, when they go rob the bank, they're all wearing presidential masks. Very interesting. Here's another commercial. Now, here we go. 1970s, sexy versions. And this is where a lot of women dress up. Now, this is a Playboy bunny, but a lot of women now wear costumes like this, the fishnets and everything, showing off their body. And especially in metropolitan areas like Los Angeles, New York City, Detroit, Atlanta. I mean, you're going to see a lot of these types of costumes. Sexy versions of costume for women were common from the 1960s and became an established commercial product in the 1990s. Here, a woman dressed like a Playboy bunny dances in Studio 54. That was a crazy place back in the days. On Halloween party in New York City in 1979. Here we have in the 1980s, box costumes this is when I was a kid. This is the type of costumes I was wearing. Box costumes could transform young children into superheroes for the night. Here, two boys dressed as The Thing and Batman are photographed at the annual New York City Halloween parade in this photo in the late 1970s and early 1980s. Now, here in the 1980s, the Halloween costumes in the 1970s and 80s became more gruesome. With the rise of slasher horror movies, right? I know Michael Myers' mask was a big mask that was purchased, everywhere. I used to be a big fan of Michael Myers movies when I was young. Horror movies also cemented Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees masks as classic horror costumes. Oh, how many people did we see with those masks? So many. Here, people posed as Dracula and as a skeleton and a werewolf at Morrissey Magic Store in New York City, 1985. See how I say New York City? A lot of New York City pictures. New York City's a crazy place. I grew up there. In the 1980s, Abracadabra store manager Darren Pellegrino, in the left, wears a Vice President George H.W. Bush mask, and Lourdes Lopez wears a Governor Michael Dukakis mask. They're ready for the upcoming Halloween season as their Greenwich Village store in New York. Greenwich Village. 1988, people. Here's another one in the 1990s. In 1955, the year of the O.J. Simpson trial, costume shops like this one in New York City sold hundreds of masks of both Simpson and the presiding judge Ito. And they show him cuffed O.J. Simpson mask. Wow. That was huge back in those days. So that's it, folks, for the pictures here. Now, let me go back to the screen here. So just give me one moment, folks. Because, boy, is this interesting. So let me scroll back down here and stop sharing. All right. So I want to continue to read some important things in regards to this. All right. So in All Saints Day on May 13th of 609 AD, Pope Boniface IV dedicated the Pantheon in Rome in honor of all Christian martyrs, and Catholic Feast of Martyrs Day was established in the Western Church. Pope Gregory III later explained the festival to include all saints as well as martyrs to move to the observance from May 13th to November 1st. Now, by the 9th century, the influence of Christianity had spread into Celtic lands, where it gradually blended with and supplanted older Celtic rites. In 1000 AD, the church made November 2nd All Souls Day, a day to honor the dead. It's widely believed today that the church was attempting to replace the Celtic Festival of the Dead with a related church-sanctioned holiday. And people, a lot of these, especially the Roman Catholic Church, the wickedness that comes out of these places, it'll literally blow your mind. And I grew up in the Catholic religion, and I couldn't leave it any faster than I got into it because I was introduced to it by my mother. My mother wanted me to have religion in my life because she didn't want me to be part of the religion that she grew up in, that she definitely, I'm so happy that she didn't. She grew up in the Jehovah's Witness religion. And that was because of my oldest uncle, which is her oldest brother. But that's a long story. I've talked about it on other podcast shows. But the Roman Catholic Church is so deep rooted in wickedness. And as we all know, right, we're seeing all these billions of dollars in lawsuits with all the pedophilia that's gone on. Now, it says All Souls Day was celebrated similarly to Samhain with big bonfire parades and dressing up in costumes as saints, angels, and devils. The All Saints Day celebration was also called All Hallows, All Hallow Mas, from Middle English Alohamis, meaning All Saints Day. And the night before it, the traditional night of Samhain in the Celtic religion began to be called All Hallows Eve, eventually being turned into Halloween. Now, when the Halloween festivities came to America, the celebration of Halloween was extremely limited in colonial New England because of the rigid Protestant belief systems there. So Halloween was much more common in Maryland and in the southern colonies. That's why I tell you, my people in the South out here, bro, y'all really into Halloween. I mean, I've never seen nothing like it before. And I mean, in New York, where I grew up, they're into Halloween, but it's really the day of. And you have people that decorate their houses out there as well. But out here, it's heavy and it's early. I'm talking about October 1st. It's already up. You know, sometimes it's even in before October, in September. So as the beliefs and customs of different European ethnic groups and the American Indians meshed, a distinctly American version of Halloween began to emerge. The first celebration included play parties, which were public events held to celebrate the harvest. Neighbors would share stories of the dead, tell each other fortunes, dance and sing, right? That's where you tell the scary stories behind around a bonfire. When I was in Boy Scouts, we did that sometimes. Now it says colonial Halloween festivities also featured the telling of ghost stories and mischief making of all kinds. By the middle of the 19th century, annual autumn festivities were common, but Halloween was not yet celebrated everywhere in the country. In the second half of the 19th century, America was flooded with new immigrants. These new immigrants, especially the millions of Irish fleeing the Irish potato famine, helped to popularize the celebration of Halloween nationally. Now, the history of trick-or-treating, borrowing from European traditions, Americans began to dress up in costumes and go from house to house asking for food or money, a practice eventually became today's trick-or-treat. See, that's interesting because I always wondered about that, people. And here we have it. Became trick-or-treat because what you were asking for was food or money. Can you imagine people going to your house right now and say, trick-or-treat, and they want a biscuit or a couple of dollars? And you got a bunch of people coming to your house like that? Wow. Young women believed that on Halloween they could divine the name or appearance out their future husband by doing tricks with yarn, apple parings, or mirror. Wow, more witchcraft. People, be very careful for this Halloween because the negative energy, as well as the positive, but there's a lot of negative energy out. You got to be very careful what you're giving your energy attention to. In the late 1800s, there was a move in America to mold Halloween into a holiday more about community and neighborly get-togethers than about ghost pranks and witchcraft. Well, it ain't like that today. At the turn of the century, Halloween parties for both children and adults became the most common way to celebrate the day. Parties focused on games, foods of the season, and festive costumes. What they're still doing to this day, nothing's changed. And it's still all about ghosts and pranks and witchcraft and parties and other things and foods and seasons and festive costumes. It hasn't changed. It's just intensified or multiplied. Now, parents were encouraged by newspaper and community leaders to take anything frightening or grotesque out of Halloween celebrations. Well, they came back, haven't they? Because of these efforts, Halloween lost most of its superstitious and religious overtones by the beginning of the 20th century. Exactly. This is how they desensitize us. This is how they socially conditioned for you to accept something that is wicked, to make you think that it's not. And that's exactly what they were doing at this time. So by the 1950s, people, town leaders had successfully limited vandalism, and Halloween had evolved into a holiday directed mainly at the young. Due to the high number of young children during the 50s, the baby boom, parties moved from town civic centers into classrooms or homes where they could be more easily accommodated. Boy, boy, boy. Between the 1920 and 1950, the centuries-old practice of trick-or-treating was also revived. Trick-or-treating was a relatively inexpensive way or an entire community to share the Halloween celebration. Now, people, in theory, families could also prevent tricks or pervert tricks being played on them by providing the neighborhood children with small treats. Thus, a new American tradition was born. And it had continued to grow to this very day. Americans spend an estimated $6 billion annually on Halloween, making it the country's second largest commercial holiday after Christmas. People, that's why so many people are going to get sick. When you have that much sugar intake, artificial sugar to be exact. And then on top of that, it's the second highest grossing holiday. Wherever the high level of money that's invested, look at the two pagan holidays. One is the veneration of Nimrod, and the other is the veneration of Satan and all of his demons. People, this stuff is serious like a heart attack. Okay? That movie, The Exorcist, really, really set the tone for a lot of this in the way that it intensified into where it's at present day. Movies like Saw, Nightmare on Elm Street, the Jason Friday the 13th movies. I mean, there's so many. The Ring, right? One of the more recent past movies, The Ring, which they're still doing movies about The Ring to present day. They won't let those movies go. And they show these movies in like marathons during the Halloween season. So don't be surprised if you see movies back to back like this. I wouldn't watch them because that is a lot of negative energy for your subconscious mind to digest or to receive. It's just my opinion. You can do what you want, people. But I wouldn't suggest it. So, brothers and sisters, I just want to say that when it comes to Halloween, there's nothing to be happy about. It is not a happy celebration. You're opening yourself up to energies that are not good and are not in your best interest. And the reason I just did this episode today, which I'm going to wrap things up right now, is just to let you know, be careful. And I would suggest not going out and celebrating Halloween at all. And I wouldn't be dressing up your kids or doing none of that, because it's bad enough that ever since this whole pandemic came in, it's just so many things are just chaotic. So why, try to open up a door that should not be open? But hey, some people have to learn the hard way, and that's their choice. But nothing good happens after 10 p.m., people. So I strongly suggest that on this Devil's Night or Devil's Day, be very careful with your energy. So brothers and sisters, I want to thank you for listening to this podcast. I'm going to play some music, of course, to end this segment on a positive note. But I hope that you got some great information in regards to the pagan holiday known as Halloween, or should we call it its original name, Hallows Eve, or Samhain. All right. So people, when you live in the present, there's always an opportunity for a new beginning. And don't look for the light at the end of the tunnel, because the light is and always will be within you. So light up the tunnel and find your way through the darkness. This is ORRA the Informationalist. And don't forget, I'm going to play some music if you want to listen to it. But I'm signing out until tomorrow on Tightrope Tuesday. Peace, love, and light. Barakatah to all you brothers and sisters. Peace and blessings. And stay tuned for some music. Shalom.
You are now tuned in to the network of awareness. To the network of awareness. To the network of
It comes a time when we gotta praise the Most High. It comes a time when we repent in the Lord's eyes. We've been traumatized, we just weep until we sore eyes. Don't cross that line or we gotta let the sword fly. It comes a time when we gotta praise the Most High. It comes a time when we repent in the Lord's eyes. Been traumatized, we just weep until we sore eyes. So don't cross that line when we gotta let the sword fly. All praises to the Most High. First off, I just want to say that every single day a blessing, so I'm really stepping, trying to find my way back. Counted the cost, repented the flaws, I'm trying to live. Yeah, the kingdom of heaven abroad. Have hope in my dreams, I pray I don't fall. I pray for the ones who is lost. I'm feeling the sorrow of times. I'm looking on up in the sky. I'm seeing a lot of the signs. It's either repent or you die. Cannot be walking two sides. Choose to stay who you ride for. Cemented in faith till I die. You don't really wanna fall off. Keep your head up. Keep my sword with me with armor. We won't let up. Sharpen up your brothers, others who we care for. Always shine the light for the Most High in Christ. It comes a time when we gotta praise the Most High. It comes a time when we repent in the Lord's eyes. Been traumatized, we just weep until we sore eyes. Don't cross that line or we gotta let the sword fly. It comes a time when we gotta praise the Most High. It comes a time when we repent in the Lord's eyes. Been traumatized, we just weep until we sore eyes. So don't cross that line when we gotta let the sword fly.
I wonder why we was created, but later I got my answers. Was searching scriptures daily, trying to get rid of this cancer, the spirit. Bearing witness, I live these holy commandments. Repent, or you gon' perish. Destruction is way too scary. Every day I wake, I give all praises to the Most High. Living in this lie, learn the truth, or you gon' die. Ain't much time left, the Savior coming, looking to the sky. It ain't no disguise, gotta armor up my own mind. Gotta get it, spirit dripping, these gifts don't got no limits. I'm just wishing I could live in that holy kingdom with them. Focus on the mission, eyes locked in tunnel vision, no paganism. We truly follow Christ, that real Christian.
It comes a time when we gotta praise the Most High. It comes a time when we repent in the Lord's eyes. Been traumatized, we just weep until we sore eyes. Don't cross that line or we gotta let the sword fly. It comes a time when we gotta praise the Most High. It comes a time when we repent in the Lord's eyes. Been traumatized, we just weep until we sore eyes. So don't cross that line when we gotta let the sword fly.
All praise to the Most High. Repent and perish.
You've seen him, you know how strong he is. You can't win!
I got the 9 on me.
Yeah, you know I got the 9 on me.
It's time to ride or die, homie.
Yeah, it's time to ride or die, homie.
Man, this how we survive, homie.
Yeah, this how we survive,
This word is for the wise, either ride or you gon' die. It's the blind leading the blind, we've been fighting for our rights. Now we fighting for our life, still no light I see inside. But I see the light inside and pray I don't go out my mind. I got a 9 in my hand and a couple of bullets. All I need is a reason for me to load it and pull it. There goes one in the shoulder, another one in the leg. Gotta finish the job and put another one in his head. I was told it's him or me, I'ma live to see another day. Killer do the killing, I don't see it any other way. People do the talking, I don't care what motherfuckers say. Keep your social distance or you getting blown the fuck away. No more Mr. Nice Guy, gotta be the bad boy. I'm on high alert, I got all of you niggas paranoid. I'm way too much at peace for you to ever bother mine. That's the bottom line, cause we all live in them all time. The 9 on me.
Yeah, you know I got the 9 on me.
It's time to ride or die, homie.
Yeah, it's time to ride or die, homie.
Man, this how we survive, homie.
Yeah, this how we survive, homie.
That's why I keep the 9 on me.
Yeah, you know I got the 9 on me. Do or die till I die, homie. I leave a nigga paralyzed, homie. What you know about the 9 on me? With that 45, feel like plies, homie. I look up at the sky like I'm the guy, homie. Got him grinding off the muscle you supply for me. What you know about your bestie trying to ride on you? I ain't never tell, bitch, I define loyal. That type of upper shit just make my blood boil you. How you hate me after all the shit I done for you? Now I'm forced to get my head right, but that's kinda hard when you to dodge death twice. Respect life, but this ain't a show, I'm dead nice. I'm the one that could bring us to the next fight. Shed light over everything bad, I'm the one with a gun, it's a tech bite. Blah.
Feds, many years from now, would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom. Yeah.
When the light has faded and darkness is abroad, the light is only dim because the darkness teaches us lessons that need to be learned in order for one to move forward. Embrace the darkness, for the darkness is your friend. So there is no end. It's only an illusion to what has been. Follow the light and let the spirit embark on a flight to a destination unknown, but to a place where love is the building blocks that call this place home. We are always accompanied on this journey, but still feel alone. It is never the same journey or experience that is ever shown. It is your imagination that awakens the passion that will weather the storm, because it is the pure compassion in the soul that is vigorous and strong. We're one with eternity, so let's be connected to the positive stream that allows us to fulfill our infinite destiny, most definitely. Let's strive to be the best people we can be with a power that is humanly new to see. So mistaken dismay can lead us astray, so let us stay, for it is our free will that allows us to make a choice. So I choose Yahweh with no delay.
This concludes the Network of Awareness podcast. For more information on the Network of Awareness, please subscribe via email to our website, networkofawareness.com, and follow us on Spreaker.com or any other listening apps you use. For any questions about the NOA, email us at orra@networkofawareness.com. Thank you for listening to one of the fastest growing podcast shows on society and culture in America and abroad. When you live in the present, there's always an opportunity for a new beginning. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings.